Welcome to the Wellness Rebel Show, where you reclaim your health and tap into your body's healing power. I'm your host, Fatima, here to empower you with the knowledge and tools to take charge of your well-being. Whether you want to boost energy, improve mindset, or unlock vitality, this is your go-to source for practical advice and inspiration. It's time to step into your power and live a life of health and freedom. Welcome to the revolution. Welcome back to the Wellness Rebel Show. Today I have Candice. So usually I have practitioners on the podcast, but I also wanted to share a different, view of people who's taken control of their health when the Western medical system failed them. So she's a talent development consultant. She consults with corporate clients, and she's the founder of Talent Development Academy. Welcome, Candice.
Thank you so much, Fatima. As I mentioned, this is sharing a whole other side to me, but I think it's so important to bring this story to people.
Yes, I'm very excited to have you here because, we need to have more like a look into others who's actually taken back their health by, taking charge of it, right? Not just waiting for sort of answers from the Western medical system, or even sometimes, we see people too that they go through all the other alternative health practitioners who are also still not really able to help them. And that's why, one of the goals of this podcast is to really empower others to take charge of their health, right? We have a very intelligent body. God created us very wonderfully. And we need to remember that. Like, I feel like we've just lost that intuition that our bodies are self-healing. So
Yes.
before we start, can you share a little about your life before your fibromyalgia diagnosis and how your symptoms began to impact your daily life?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it actually started when I was pretty young, which I didn't realize at the time. But looking back, even sitting in school, we had what was called assemblies. I don't know if you have that here in America, but in South Africa, we would have like an hour once a week where the whole school would go into a big hall and sit and listen to the update. And then I would sit like crisscross applesauce and I would be sore. But like I thought that was normal. I thought everyone was sore because we're sitting there and, but I would like just remember this like dull pain. So it actually started like way back when. And so even now, like with my kids, I'm like in tune. But when it started impacting my life was my early 20s. I would, and it was a build-up. It wasn't like a day when I was like, oh, this is it. It was just this constant pain. And then it built up to a point where in my young 20s, like 25, 26, I was so tired. I couldn't get through a work day. And I was like, I'm in my 20s. How can this be possible?
Mm-hmm.
And so, without going through my whole story, I'll stop there and just let you ask questions. But that was the time when I thought something is wrong with me and like I'm not well and I need to do something about it.
Yeah. So when you thought about that, did you start off with, traditional medicine, and what was your experience with that? And then what's the turning point that made you seek answers beyond the traditional medicine?
Mm. So I started off as probably most people do, go to your, general doctor person. So I did that. I'd been with that doctor forever. I grew up in a small town, so like that doctor probably like gave my first vaccines when I was a baby. And so I went to him, and then he referred me. He did all the things, blood work. It took a long time to actually go through all of this. So I did blood work, I did x-rays, I went back to doing more x-rays. So I did like x-rays on my back, I then did x-rays on my hips. I got tested for bone density, all the blood work under the sun. And nothing was like showing up as abnormal, but I'm like, this is this is abnormal. Like, I cannot be. And literally, I had to stop work. I had to go to my manager several times and say, like, I need to go home. And it was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon because I was going to fall asleep at the wheel, so it was like really bad. And so, like, when all the blood work, all the tests, blah, 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 went to specialists, like so many specialists, like osteoporosis. And then eventually I went to a rheumatologist. And that's when I started on like really heavy medication. I can't remember the names. I'm not good at that. But like two things that were like chronic medication, which I'd probably have to take forever. But that doctor, that rheumatologist, was like, you don't have this, you don't have rheumatoid arthritis, but this medicine could help you. So I went on it. And then, and the turning point you asked me, so that's sort of the second part of my answer, is that if I missed a day, if I forgot in the morning, it was like debilitating. I couldn't, like, again, I had to get home. I couldn't like get through the day if I missed one pill. And then I was like, if this is the effect of just missing this medicine, can you imagine like how addicted my body was, how like impactful it was? And then I was in my 20s. So I thought, now I'm going to take this medicine for decades. Can you imagine like what this is going to do to me? And so I was like, I cannot be on this medication for the rest of my life.
Yeah. And who made you, or did someone kind of like mention to you, hey, you should check out like other, the other route or the alternative medicine route? Or did you just kind of like research that on your own and then kind of like, explored it yourself?
So I was very fortunate. I started doing yoga years before that. So I was like 22. And my whole life I've been so stiff, like, and now I've been doing yoga for 15 years. I can just touch the floor now. Like, that's how stiff I am. And it's all related. But my yoga teacher, the person who owned the studio at the time, would like mention this dull pain and blah, blah, blah. So, I was just like, could this be related? I always am feeling this dull pain, but the tired and all of that stuff was a bit more. So I just spoke with her and I was like, what have you done? Because I do yoga to try and ease this pain, and it does ease it 100%, or not 100%, but a lot. It eased my pain a lot. And so she said, you might have fibromyalgia. And remember, this is like 2012. And in South Africa, I don't know about America, but it was still like a phantom sickness. Doctors didn't think it was a thing. And so I didn't go to a doctor. I went to her homeopath, who was a doctor by profession, but turned this holistic homeopathic healing.
Awesome. Yeah, I love homeopathy. It's a very fascinating, like branch of alternative medicine, and we use it at home too. It's like, there's no side effects. Like, I'm not worried about my kids because they think it's candy and they're like eating the whole bottle. Now, see, I have one. Okay, I'm going to pause this real quick.
Sure.
So you mentioned homeopathy, right? How did, like, what was it a he or a she?
He, yes.
Okay, what was his, like, method? Like, what did he start with for you? Like, what did he do? Lifestyle changes and along with remedies? Like, tell us, like, the picture of what the journey was.
Yes. So I went to him. He booked a 2-hour session with me. He went so deep, and it was more than, so he got all my test results, all my blood work, all my x-rays. I had to bring like everything, the medicine I was on, all of the things that I'd done before. He took so long going through that, but then he also took so long to understand like what I ate, what I did for exercise, my lifestyle, my stress levels, like all, the whole picture, which felt really different. Like, I'd never stepped into a doctor's office and been asked like, how do I enjoy work? It was like totally
Yeah.
different. And so, yeah, so we spent about an hour literally like diving deep into all of that stuff. And then he literally said a sentence to me that I will never forget. And it was the truest thing that anyone had ever said. So he said, "Give me 6 weeks to change your life. But you're going to have to trust me. You're going to have to do all the things. You're going to have to take all the medicines." Because I was like so anti medicine at that point because of how sick it
Yeah.
made me. So he was like, "You're going to have to take all the things. You're going to have to like be disciplined, like take the powder in the morning, take the powder in the afternoon." He gave me something, and I think he described it as like, if you could taste hell, this is what hell would taste like. It was literally like that. It was horrible. Like, so I had to drink this stuff every night. So everything was just like detoxing. It was like charcoal stuff, all like homeopathic medicine. So nothing
Yeah.
like Western. And so I did all of this and I was so good. And I had to go on a strict diet. So I could eat meat, like white meat, like chicken and fish. And I couldn't even eat fruit. So it was like just vegetables, like broccoli, spinach. I had to cut out mushrooms, tomatoes, like all of that stuff. So it was a very limiting diet. And then after the 6 weeks, I could start introducing things. And he was like, "Don't count anything out. You could be sensitive to bananas." So it's like, have a banana one day and then see. So it was
Yeah.
like inch by inch by inch, like reintroducing foods. And because of that cleanse, it was so obvious when I was sensitive to something. And it turns out I was sensitive to wheat. So I can have, so gluten free and wheat is actually different. So
Yeah.
I'm specifically wheat, and I won't go into that detail. That's for another day. And red wine. So like those are the two things that I absolutely cannot have. And I haven't had wheat or red wine since 2012. Like, so this whole thing was like 2012, 2011, 2012, 2013, like a really long time to get to where I was. And then he was even very prescriptive on my exercising. So I can't do any, so even now I don't jump. I don't do any exercises where I jump. I don't do any running, any like hard things on my joints. So anything that would be like hurtful, but I have to do a lot of strength training. I cycle a lot. I do a lot of yoga, bar, Pilates, like all of that stuff. And yeah, just really focused in on my diet. And like I can tell, so it's been a journey because some things you don't even know have wheat in them, like spices. So,
Yeah.
like, and then I'm feeling sick again. I can't move. And then I'm like, what did I eat? So it's been a journey. And, even now, sometimes I mess up, but yeah, that's what it is. And if I do have wheat, it is so bad. And red wine. One Thanksgiving, I had like half a glass of red wine, and I promise you, I could not turn over in the bed. Like that is how
Wow.
sore my body gets from this.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy. But, our body lets us know what it
Mm,
doesn't want,
yeah.
so,
Yes. Yes. And
I mean,
and another part of it, which I would like to add, is actually stress.
yeah.
So stress, those hormones that come out when you're stressed, has the same effect as wheat and red wine. So it's like I have to be very aware. I do a lot of meditation and cold exposure and all of that stuff, also just to like manage my stress.
Yeah.
Mm.
Amazing. Amazing. So, with that, that 6 week plan, it obviously changed your life. How did that impact your mindset?
Mm. Honestly, in every way. You mentioned right in the beginning about that intuition. And now I am so aware. Like I know when I'm too stressed and my body is telling me. And I know when maybe I've indulged. So although I'm not that sensitive to, let's say, chocolate, if I eat too much chocolate over 3-4 days, my body's telling me, and so it's like just being so aware of how we nourish our bodies and look after it and listen. Like even doing movement. So if I do land up feeling strong and then I land up like, okay, let me do these jumps, I'll feel it the next day. Like, and so it's just being so aware. And as a mother, being so aware of giving my kids nutritious food and teaching them about it, and there's never a moment where I'm like, you have to finish your food. It's more listen to your body. And my young daughter, like when she was 5, now she's 7, she'll still do it every now and then, but she'll like phone her stomach and be like, ring, 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 tummy, how are you feeling? And like ask, are you full enough? Are you not? So just, yeah, like giving them that gift, because we
Yeah.
were not brought up in that way, well, I was not, like I had to finish my food, I had to, and whatever it was, doesn't matter. It was like a burger, like you have to finish your burger, a milkshake, like it didn't matter. It was like that. So yeah, just feeding this nutrition and being aware of like your whole lifestyle is impacting you. And honestly, you don't have to feel stuck. And why I actually wanted to come on this podcast is because I met with someone that his niece was experiencing very similar things than I was. And she was in her 20s. She was like bedridden, super healthy, like eats well, exercises, but like bedridden some days. And I shared my story, and he was like, thank you so much. Because it doesn't have to be like this. And if you feel stuck, if you feel like medicine's not working or it's not your route, there are other ways.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. We also do that here now. I know, I'm pretty sure that I also grew up where my parents would tell us that you need to finish your whole plate, like all this stuff, right? Or my husband, like they would force them to eat the vegetables. If you don't eat your vegetables, you can't leave the table, and all
Mm-hmm.
these things. So with our kids, we also we don't do that. And when they say, "Can I be done?" I'm like, if you're full, then yeah. I'm like, I'm not gonna tell you no. You need to keep eating. You need to listen to how you're feeling, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's like no, we don't ever force that. We don't force that. So that I think that's a great way to nurture their intuition, because
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how we somehow lose that intuition growing up, is how we're raised and what we're told to do, and to
Mm-hmm.
not listen to how we're feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Right.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, no
Okay, there we go.
worries. So, how did you stay motivated and disciplined when the initial lifestyle, that you mentioned, they seemed like they felt so restrictive and overwhelming? Like, how did you stay motivated and disciplined to stay the course?
Oh, yes, that is brilliant. And I do I do want to talk about this because it was hard. So in the beginning, and again, remember it's 2012, things have changed drastically. So there weren't like gluten-free everything. Um, so I was like, am I never gonna eat pizza again? I can never have an egg on toast. And
Yeah.
like, so the first time I went out for breakfast and I had, I wanted to order eggs on toast. This is one of my favorite things. I literally cried. I was like, I can't have an egg on toast. Like, how else do you eat eggs? So it was hard. Um, but during the 6 weeks, I was so disciplined. Like, I promise you, I didn't have a bite of anything that he said I couldn't. So, um, how I felt after that 6 weeks justified every other compromise that I ever had to make now for it's been 13 years. It like I have this energy. I wake up every day energized, like not every day, obviously, like some days not, but just knowing how I felt in my early 20s, like falling asleep at my desk, and needing to urgently get home because I couldn't make the 20-minute drive. Like it was a fear,
Yeah.
to having energy and life and not having to be on chronic medication. Like I had an aunt who died of cancer because of chronic medication. Like that is what caused her cancer, was that she was on medicine for most of her life. And I was just like, I'm just not going to do that to my body. I'm just not. Like I want to live a good life. This medicine made me so sick. So even though I wasn't feeling the pain, it still was like I didn't feel like me.
Yeah.
And so that 6 weeks did change my life. And it was, yes, I couldn't eat bread, but I could wake up and live. It was a no-brainer to me, So, and obviously there's hard days like that Thanksgiving where I had the red wine. It was so good. And like I love red wine so much. But ultimately, if you think of the great scheme of things, it's nothing. It's, never having red wine again, but being able to live your life. To me, it's just an obvious choice.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Or you're like, I'm just going to suffer for a little bit.
No. After that morning, I was like, no, never again. And I
Yeah.
literally had half a glass. So it wasn't hungover. It was literally just the pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are the most surprising things you've learned about your body and health throughout this journey?
Mm. How strong it is, how resilient. And if you look after it, it looks after you. Like it's carrying, and it's, I don't know, philosophical, but it's carrying you through your life, right? So if you look after it, you live a better life. It's, you don't have to feel like it's so heavy. It's very much like life is heavy, your body is heavy. It's, you're one in the same, like you're living this life in this body. So you may as well look after it. Yeah. And so it's a great thing to feel good.
Yeah.
It's, like having not felt good. And, now if I accidentally, have some fries and I know afterwards they've cooked the fries in a, probably they haven't changed the oil for a while. So there's a lot of flour in that oil. Like I'll know the next day. And it's like, were those fries worth it? No, not at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
It's really just choosing. It's like they say every decision you make is like a healthcare decision, basically, right? It's like everything that you
Mm.
have to decide on will dictate how your health will be, like down the road. Like we
Hmm.
need to remember that.
Yes, yes. Yeah, what is that? Oh, give me a second. I'm gonna good stop. Um, okay, I'll start again. There's a saying, and I'm sure you know it or you can find it, but it's something like, um, I don't know, eat your food as medicine or
Mm-hmm.
medicine will become your food, something like
Yeah.
that. Like that is so true. So true.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. It's really just like choosing your poison. No, I know.
Yes.
Like I know it's like let food be your medicine, or medicine. Or food can be the best form of medicine or poison, something like that.
Mm. Oh, yes,
Also,
yes,
like right.
yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
it's
Yeah,
like
and I
we.
think what's so important with that is it's, yeah, I suppose choose your hard, right? If you don't like eating
Yeah.
healthy or you want to indulge, that's fine. You don't have to be perfect all the time, but you are fueling your life through that. And so it's yeah, it's just so important. And being aware, again, back to your intuition thing right in the
Hmm.
beginning, you know, exercise could be a poison too. If you're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
aware of that, the exercise you're doing could be harming you, could be causing some of your pain. I push myself hard. I've been going to gym since I was 14. So all I knew was like push myself, do the weights, do the running, do the, go, go, go. But there's better ways, go
Yeah.
swim, do cycling,
Right.
like just listen to your body. If you, you know, you can
Yeah.
make adjustments. So.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. So, how did living with fibromyalgia change the way you think about wellness and self care?
Mm, yeah. I still don't know what causes fibromyalgia, which is, you know, I'm wondering, is it, childhood, were we given nutrients, or, I don't know what caused it, but getting, I don't know, I suppose diagnosed, and I don't speak about this at all. Like my dad, I told him, and then he would tell everyone, and I had to pull him aside and say, like, Dad, can you stop? Like, I don't want to be this, oh, poor Candice, she's got this disease, like I'm not a victim of this
Yeah.
disease. I've taken control of it. And I think that is the mindset shift. If I'm answering your question, it's like you are in control. Like, yes, sometimes these things happen to you and it is so terrible. Like, and I'm not talking about diseases that can't be cured or managed. Obviously, that's another conversation altogether. But when you get these sorts of things, like I could have, and I know people, like I know people who have let this take over their lives. Like,
Mhm.
oh, woe is me. I have
Yeah.
this fibromyalgia. I can do nothing about it. And yes, you have those days when you are so tired. It's debilitating. It is. So I don't want to take anything away, but it is also manageable. And I think if you own it and own your mindset, because even stress, and there have been some huge stresses in my life, but managing that, or at least being aware and then doing something proactive about it, like I like to meditate or journal, or whatever that is for you, just be more aware and take ownership. Like
Mhm.
the system doesn't own you, like the healthcare. I could have so easily just said, oh well, I'm on this chronic medication if I don't want to feel pain. I could have just been like, oh, that's my life.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, there has to be something else, and I went and I kept, and like I said, it was about a 3-year journey before I found this sort of release, whatever it is. But like before I found something that was actually working for me, that was sustainable.
Mhm.
It wasn't like, oh, just go visit this one person and miracles will happen. I mean, it was 3 years of doctors and prodding tests, and so much
Yeah.
happened. um, but it's like, find a better way that will work for you. Don't just accept it as that is all there is.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. A lot of times when we get stuck in that victim mindset, that's when you get stuck, and
Mm,
and then you make that diagnosis your identity, and
mm,
then you're
mhm,
telling your cells and your body that it's broken and you're just going to
mm,
be sick forever, because everything to me, everything can be reversed. It's a matter of giving what your body needs and removing whatever is causing the interruptions in the whole, like like your body performs trillions of processes every single day, right? And
mhm,
its main
mhm.
goal is to keep you alive. So
Yes, yes.
yeah, yeah. So, what role did mental and emotional health play in your healing journey?
Mental and emotional. Hmm. I would say it was reframing, and I'll explain. So, at first, you know, firstly, not knowing what was wrong with me. So all the tests were like perfect. Like,
Yeah.
Candice, you are as fit as a fiddle. Like, I don't know what is wrong with you. And I'm like, okay, but I want to sleep at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This is not okay. So even that was a mental thing, because I was like, this cannot be life. Like, I need to move forward and figure this out. So that took mental strength from the get-go. And then being diagnosed and like diagnosed with fibromyalgia was another mental decision. Like, I had to be mentally strong, where I was like, okay, that's fine, but I'm not going to let this, yes, identify who I am, like take over my life. So I do feel mentally I was very strong from the beginning. And it was the like almost the physical and emotional, because I'm like, I can't live my life like this. It was quite depressing. I love my life. I love living my life. I've got a lot of energy around life. I wish I'd just live forever. So I really love it. And so I was like, emotionally, it was more draining than mentally. So mentally, I was like, okay, logically, this is what I have to do. So mentally, I was very strong.
Mhm.
Emotionally, not so much. I was like, this is hard. No one knows what's wrong with me. Maybe nothing's wrong with me, and other people are just have more energy. It was a lot of self-doubt, a lot of wondering, a lot of uncertainty, frustration. I would cry when, I'd drive home from work, often just crying the whole drive home. I'd just be like, this sucks. I love my work. I want to do well. I don't want to be this person that goes home in the middle of the day. So emotionally, it was really draining. And then I think after that 6 weeks, or during even, I just felt like, I'm going to manage this, and then I felt almost euphoria. I'm like, this is working. Like this, I could feel, probably by week 2, even, I was like, oh my gosh, like, even if I have to eat chicken, fish, and rice and broccoli for the rest of my life, I don't care. This is great.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, so that was the emotional turning point when I knew that I could control this and it didn't have to control me.
I love that. So, what advice would you give to those who are, like maybe they have the same symptoms, they haven't gotten the diagnosis yet, or if they just got newly diagnosed, how, what advice would you give them to help them feel more hopeful and empowered that there's,
Mm.
something better beyond the dark tunnel?
Yes. Oh, and yeah, everyone must know there is a better way. Like, you don't have to be stuck. This is not a sentence of, this is how your life has to be and there's no other way. So I manage this purely. So I haven't taken medicine. I think I stopped in 2012, and I have not taken medication to manage this at all. So unless I have accidentally had wheat, I'll take like an anti-inflammatory, or yeah. So that's it. That's the extent of my medication. I'm on nothing. And I manage this purely through being aware of what I eat. I drink a lot of water and tea, like antioxidant tea. I love my tea so much. And exercise, but doing the right exercise for my body. So understand those things. And I promise you, you can manage this thing and feel fine. Like, it's not, I don't very seldom feel tired or sore. Um, and it is just so manageable. So I would say to people, just don't quit, don't give up, don't let this take over your life. Just keep going, find the right things for you. So this is my path. It might not be yours.
Yeah.
There could be something else. Maybe, oh, maybe you are allergic to bananas, whatever it is. But just keep going and figure it out, because I promise you, life is amazing and your body is amazing, and it is so worth finding the solution for you.
Yeah, yeah. So how did you figure out which forms of exercise works for you? Did you just experiment, or was there like a specific test that they,
Mm.
did on you to figure it out?
Yeah, because this shows up in my joints, and that's why they originally thought it was rheumatoid arthritis. So that's my symptoms. I get symptoms like I have rheumatoid arthritis. I literally, like, if I'm lying on my back, I cannot roll over on my side. Like, it is really debilitating pain in all of my joints, my elbows, my hands, feet, hips, lower back, like really sore. Um, and because of that, so because of how it shows up, that's where that my homeopath, Dr.
Mhm.
Pillay, he was like, don't do anything that's hard on your joints. So stop running. So I've never run again. Um, I can't do like off-road or mountain biking, trail bike. It's too hard. When you hit the rocks, it's just too impactful.
Yeah.
And so he suggested things like, do strength training so I can absolutely lift weights and stuff, but don't do jumping. So like burpees, don't do the jump. So do the burpee, do the push up, but don't do the jump. So it's small little things here and there. I knew, because I had been doing it for years, I knew yoga was a lifesaver. So
Yeah.
I've done yoga, yeah, since 2010 I started. So I've been doing yoga. And then Pilates is really good strength, and anything that uses my body weight. So bar and Pilates to build my muscles are really good. And so it's also, again, so he suggested these things, which I did, and then listened to my body. So
Yeah.
if I was too sore the next day, or I took, let's say, 3 days to recover, which can happen. So if I do something wrong, it will take me a long time to be able to exercise again. So
Yeah.
it was listening and paying attention. So, like, okay, if I do that specific thing, maybe it's a specific angle or whatever, I can't exercise again. It takes me too long to recover. And so I would cut that out,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
daily movement for me is better than like a hard workout. So, like, even if I do 20 minutes, it's better than like a hard weight where I can't actually move for 3 days afterwards.
Right. It's definitely
Yeah.
about listening to your body,
Mm.
and everyone's different. So
Hmm.
there's really no one size fits all, huh?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I must add swimming to the mix. I think that's
Yeah.
my, gotta get swimming again. That's a great exercise.
Yeah. The low impact
Mhm.
exercises, definitely. Yeah, because a lot of people think that, when someone mentions exercise, that I'm like, oh, they have to go to the gym and do all the things. But then
Mhm.
it's like, no, that's not really necessarily what exercise means. Like, there's so
Mm,
many other
mm,
ways to move your body that doesn't hurt you or harm your health,
mhm. Yeah, and
right?
it is important to build strength. So don't
Hmm.
avoid exercise. Like, that's another mistake. Because if you're not strong, you feel bad again. So if I
Yeah.
just did yoga, that would not be enough.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
doing the bar and the Pilates, yeah. And if I can recommend an app. It's called Allo Moves. I've been doing that since 2019. I've been on that app, and they have excellent yoga, like hard yoga. That's not just for beginners. Bar and Pilates. So that's my go-to app.
Okay. That's good to
Yeah.
know.
Mhm.
LO?
Yeah. So it's ALO
Oh, ALO
Moves.
moves.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's also, yeah, I like having those options where you can sort of exercise at home instead of
Mhm.
going
Yes. Yes, don't
somewhere.
let anything stand in your way. I'm like, COVID taught me, don't let anything stand in your way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, exercise. I exercise almost every day. Just even, and as I said, even if it's 20 minute, I'll move my body in,
Yeah.
some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely very important. Even just walking, like
Mm.
walking, or
Mhm.
if you feel like if you're stuck in front of a computer sitting down, like I always say, like have that, it's called activity snacks, or like, every
Mm,
every 5 minutes in an hour that you're sitting down to like walk around or do squats or, just like
mhm.
get the heart rate going.
Yes, 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 100%. Yeah, I actually set a timer on my phone for every 30 minutes, and I put my phone in another room. And so I have to get up every 30 minutes. And then when I get up, I'll take a quick stretch or, whatever it is. So that's really good. That's
That's a good
a great
idea
way just
too.
to like not sit down, because I
Yeah.
can get lost in work where I'm like sitting down for hours at a time. So yeah, every day I do that. It's, yeah, set a timer, 30 minutes. Yeah, phone outside the room, but close enough that it irritates you, so you have to get up.
I love
Because
that. That's
otherwise
a
I'll just
great
let
tip.
it ring. I'm like, I'll get to it later.
Yeah, that's a great tip. So, how has your personal experience shaped the way you help others on their wellness journey?
Yeah, my personal experience has been a journey in itself. So I did not share this for a long time.
Hmm.
So again, I didn't want it to be my identity. And I did mention, my dad would tell everyone, I'm like, shh, don't like, so I hid it for a long time. And actually, I wrote a blog last year to say I'm brave enough to share. So it's very recent that I'm even talking about this. Like, talking about this on a podcast is huge. I have not shared this story of mine because, yeah, I just didn't want it to define who I was. So meeting that person it was actually at the rec center. My kids were swimming and I was in the sauna and was overhearing this guy talking to someone else. And then I shared my story and the impact that had on him. I could physically see his relief that there might be a solution, that I was like, yeah, I might be holding this back to the detriment of sharing. So even if I share my story and maybe I helped his niece, maybe she has better days. And I think so that has been a journey for me. I have not wanted to share this side of my life, not wanted to, let people know about this, not wanted to be a victim. And so that to me has now recently become quite important. So I wrote the blog. I actually wrote the blog a year before I published it. So I wrote it and it took me a year to push go.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's been really hard. But then I thought, and then, we met and I was like, okay, let me just take the leap and share my story, because truly, if it helps one person, two people, that'd be amazing. Like if one person has a better life and more energy and not on chronic medication because I shared, like, yeah, that's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
love that.
yeah, it's been a journey for me for sure.
Yeah, they do say, like sometimes you have to take time until that wound or, like is, scabbed up, and then you can share from a space of like power or empowerment instead of still that victim
Mm-hmm.
mentality, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then, yeah, I love that even if you just help one person, inspire one person, that's the most important thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you
Mm-hmm.
go through something and that you're able to help someone else is what's beautiful, I think, about life. It's like just sharing and inspiring.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I have stepped into that and willing to share more openly. Yeah, it's taken a long time because it's really been a block for me. Is I
Yeah,
just didn't want people to think I was disabled. Like there can be such a stigma around it, and so it's been a really hard thing for me to get to a place of
definitely.
sharing.
Well, thank you so much for, having that courage and, taking the leap and sharing your story on here. Um, can you share? I mean, we're going to put it in the show notes, but do you want to share, your website or that website link for the blog that you posted to if anyone wants to really go through your whole journey and whatnot, then they can check it out?
Yeah, I'll send that link to you. So I think it's called My Fibromyalgia Journey, Brave Enough to Share, or something like that. Or Eventually Brave Enough, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, my website, people can my best place to connect with me is on LinkedIn. I am in the talent development space, so very specific niche down. So any learning and development practitioners listening to this, I'll certainly share it on my socials. But anyone in the learning and development space, I love to support you, serve you. That is, yeah, that's my love language. And so, yeah, people can contact me on talentdevelopmentnerds.com. And I lean hard into the nerd side of that thing because, yeah, we are all just a bunch of nerds.
Awesome. All right. But before we close this up, I'm sure you've shared some along, the way while we were doing the interview, but can you share a golden nugget or, like a favorite quote that you have or use to like get you going through, let's say, like the harder times when
Mm.
you have, either flare ups or, mental
Mhm.
blocks?
Whew. Let me think. I don't have just one, I have a million. So I'm just trying to think. Um, I like to feel that I can change my life. So even if there's something that happens to me that is out of my control, like this, I still want to feel like I can make better decisions, And so for me, I like to think it's up to me. Like you can do the work, So I don't know if there's one golden nugget here, but for me, it's about empowering myself again. So it's, pick your hard, choose your hard. And yeah, it's harder to be a victim to something that's going to take over your life than to make some hard choices sometimes and own it yourself. And it's up to you, and you can shift how you're feeling.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Candice, for being on here. And yeah, I wish you all the best. I hope you keep going because, they always say, the getting healthy or, just this life is a journey. It's not a destination.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I hope you, you know, stay healthy and yeah,
Absolutely.
and stay brave to share your journey.
Yeah, and thank you for having this podcast. It is definitely going to change many lives. So awesome stuff. Thank you. Thanks for having me on, Fatima.
Of course. Have a good one.
Thanks. You too.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please click the subscribe button, share it with others, post about it in social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from me or suggest topics, you can follow me on Instagram at Fatima Pagtakan or at The Wellness Rebel Show. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.